Then I moved into government and politics. And I've been a government reporter now for for a long time. And so I still do kind of all of those things. I've done travel reporting. The only thing I really haven't done is sports. But I think the sports ball is fun and I enjoy it with adult beverages on the big game day of the sports ball season. So there's that. And then let me tell you something weird about me. I want everyone to pick just one weird thing to share. A weird thing about me, let's see, is that I pay for the New York Times in print to come to my house. Costs a fortune. Costs more than any of my streaming services do individually, although maybe not more than they do in total. And I do the crossword, but I only do Friday, Saturday, Sunday because those are the hard ones. And I basically only do them in my bathroom. So I have a clipboard and a retractable pencil with the New York Times crossword in my bathroom, which is pretty sexy. So that is my great thing. Let's go around. Tell me real briefly who you are, what your major is, how long you've been writing for the logo, and something weird.
I'm Nate. My majors are political science and psychology. I've been writing for the logo for like 5 months.
Good enough?
Something. I don't know. I don't think it's that weird, but Chelsea thinks it's weird. I'm left-handed, so a weird fact.
All right. Chelsea thinks it's weird.
I'm Chelsea. I'm an English major, and I've been writing the logo for a little less than a year now. I have a document on my phone of the words that I progressively learn over time and I really want to use. And my most recent one was yeah.
Bubbly. Yeah, I do that, except you can save words in like a dictionary app, especially if you're reading fiction, because fiction writers love to use, or nonfiction, but over in the English part, love to use really fancy words. So when I'm reading really great fiction, there are often words that I don't know, which is shocking. And I like to break them down. No, I'm a reader. I like it. I teach Pelta.
I'm Lily. I've been writing for the logo since like beginning of this school year. And the thing about me is that
That's a weird thing. Yeah, that's good.
I'm Laurel. I'm
He's pretty excited in the fight. Yeah. Now you're on. Okay. These better get weirder as we go along. You've had a lot of time to think about it. Well, your English or biology, you say? No, psychology. All right, we'll come back to you. You're up.
I'm kind of I don't know, this is like silly, but I feel like I read this a little while ago to talk about how like how it affects feels or
Yeah. Now you're keeping your oranges out. Yeah. Nice. That's good. All right. Now that is in the spirit. I like it.
What after dinner?
A pickle after dinner. There you go. You nailed it with the pickle after dinner. I like it. Go ahead. Are you doing twins? All right. Okay, the light's in my eyes, but you sound exactly the same.
Always
so
hard to
that's
see
good.
people.
Yeah, all right. You believe that your mom, who's your mom? Oh my God, you're the baby twin. Well, because that was 13 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, you were like 10 or 11. Holy crap. I did go to Turkey with your mom. That's great. That's a genuine weird thing. You guys are good at that. I like it. All right. You, young lady.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm a journalism major. I've been with the logo for 3 years now.
What's a weird thing about you? What do you most want to write about?
Culture, but that's not weird.
Not at all. Not at all. Keep going. Yeah, that's not weird at all, but I like it about it. That's good. All right, back in the corner. Genuinely weird.
Yeah.
You shouldn't doubt yourself there. That's genuinely weird. And I should be clear. I think Harvard is good, right? So when I say I want to hear something weird about you, I need to make it good, because that's good. Pickle is good, right? Like Transformers 3 times every weekend, like that's good.
Impressive.
Yeah, it is. All right, next up.
My name is Sidney Freeland, and I am freelance photographer here at officially. And my English, my major is in English, and my minor is undecided, so I guess I'll find it out.
Journalism.
It could be, yeah.
And if I see today, it will be.
Oh, heck yeah. I guess we'll have to see. I'll let you know. The weird thing about me
Weird thing.
is that previous to this, I was on set and a hot candle fell on my head and there's a ton of wax in my hair. So that's why I'm wearing the little hat, but it's kind of soothing to pick out. I'm not gonna pick out wax in my hair. It's weird, but like I kind of enjoying it a little bit.
I
Trying
love
to
it.
find the bright side.
I love it. Were you shooting something of your own, or are you working on it outside?
It's a friend's like short film for a class.
Yeah.
That was-
I saw a production shooting on my way here from the North Valley,
Oh, yeah.
which is probably that Netflix show, their answer to Yellowstone,
Yeah.
which is really big.
They're filming a lot.
Yeah. All right, cool. You.
Hi, I'm Shin. My first meeting was last week, but I hopefully get to start next week because my paperwork is still not coming through and I was sick for most of last week. So fingers crossed I start soon.
Yay.
I wait, I'm a political science major.
Excellent.
And something weird about me is that I've had a monkey's finger in my mouth.
I love it that you win. You officially just won. That's exactly what we did.
Thank you.
That's good shit right there. All right, that's great. Monkey finger. Next.
My name is Maddie. I've been at the logo for 4 years. I'm studying political science and women, gender, sexuality studies. And something weird is strawberry chocolate dipper and cookie dolliper are both interesting.
I was an ear piercing specialist, so yes, you gotta put those things on there. That's moved off lately, but. Do we need more introductions?
Oh, sure. I'm Gavin. I don't write for the logo, but I've been 27 years. And let's see, my major is also probably my major is plastics.
I love it.
Hi, I'm James Montalbano. I used to be the writing coach here. Back in the day, I majored in English and US history. And maybe a weird thing about me is I minored in math, which I would like to have on my tombstone.
Yeah.
Uh,
You just want people to know.
yeah. Yeah. And so I eventually went to law school. I used to be in newspapers. I went to law school. I'm a lawyer now. Until I retired. And then I just want to say, by way of bringing it back to Gwyneth, is when the staff said they wanted to have a presentation on interviewing techniques, this was the first person I thought of, and I think we're in for a treat. And we've got the chalk going, so let's go.
Thank you. So let me ask you, why did you think of me?
I see you on TV. We've never worked together, but we've been aware of each other over the
Yeah.
years. I was at the Tribune and you were here and there and teaching, I taught, and then you came on
Yeah.
after I was a teacher.
It's the
And so,
TV thing.
part of it's a TV thing, but I just think of you as one of the most curious people and so a lot of, not, I wouldn't say a lot of you, some of you know her, you may have even had a class with her.
I got 3 in here at least. Anybody I don't recognize who took a class with me or took it online. All right. So yeah, I think a couple good things you said. Number one, curiosity is the greatest quality that you can bring to this job. When I talk to people about journalism, I say, you get paid to go ask people anything you want to ask them. And if you don't like jump up and say, ooh, that's me, then like maybe we need to work a little harder. But if that makes your heart sing, then I think you're gonna love this, right? Because that is the absolute purest joy for me. Over the time that I've been writing, one of the first stories I ever did was with an ostrich farmer. And I was like, I did not need to prepare. I am like that annoying person who has 89 questions for everyone right away. And I was like, where'd you get these birds? What do they do? What do they eat? How do you feed them? And what's the meat taste like? And do they drop a lot of these feathers? And what are the eggs like? And how do you collect those eggs? And do you sell them at the market? How much does it cost? How much do you sell to the pound? What's your profit margin on it? And then I got out of my car, right? So if you think that's fun, channel that, like prioritize that, feed that instinct in you. So I've been interviewing for 25 years. I was a sociology and anthropology major. So I studied people in school, and that made it really easy for me to transition into journalism because I was just interested in other humans, and I still am, and I feel like that was seamless for me. The kind of interviewing I do now, I think is some of the hardest that you will do. And I see that as kind of a goal that you should set for yourself. Like how many of you do podcasting or want to podcast? Yeah, you guys should be podcasting. Why do you not want to podcast? Tell us.
I feel like sometimes there's like this stigma on people who podcast, namely like these men that just talk about like really sexist politics sometimes. I don't know, that's my opinion.
Okay, Joe Rogan aside, podcasting is great, right? And it has the potential to lift up other voices who are not, right? So think about podcasting. Podcasting, of course, is a spin-off of radio, but live television, live radio are things that require you to get way freaking better at interviewing because you have to do 17 things at once, including interview someone. But you have to be thinking about what questions you have got written down, where the flow of this thing is going, when the break is coming, how much time you have, and you have to be listening to their answer to see, are they actually answering this? Do I need to follow up on this? Oh crap, is she killing question number 7? And that's why I'm crossing this thing out while she's talking and looking down briefly to rewrite, oh crap, question 9 is now question 3. Okay, so that after we keep talking. Yes, good, okay. And we're gonna go to a break right now, but when we come back, question 3. right? Like, it's so much of that. So you guys, are sort of natural human interviewers now, but let's see if we can build on some of those skills for your time here during the Lobo and get you on a track where you can kind of achieve anything you want to achieve with your interviewing, right? I have a set of basics here that I want to make sure that you are doing. So when you go to interview someone at the Lobo, how do you introduce yourself? Who's been here the longest?
3 years? Who's here 3 years?
3 years.
Tell me, Max.
Hi, my name's Maddie. I'm from the Daily Local. I'm
Yeah.
working on this story. I want to ask you some questions.
Hi, my name is Maddie. I'm a reporter at the Daily Lobo, and I want to ask you some questions for a story that I'm doing about women in sports.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell, right? State the purpose. And then, how will this be used? You sort of said it. I'm writing a story for the Daily Lobo, but how will this be used be different?
Sometimes when I'm talking about how I'm recording, I'm like, I'm not going to use the audio for anywhere. I'm just going to use it for clarity.
Nailed it. Say that thing, right? So hopefully, and I think I maybe took my reporter's notebook out of my bag to lighten it on the way over here, which was silly. But so say I have my notebook, say this is my notebook, because this was a notebook. And I have it,
Wait,
that's your phone, that's okay.
Oh.
I have Jim's phone, and I have it upside down with the mic pointing toward him, and I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm recording, but this is just for my notes. I'm not gonna use this to air. Now, I have to say this to people all the time because they know me from TV and they know me from the radio. So they're like, when they see me coming, they're like, what is this? You know, which of the things that you do is this gonna be? Because I used to work at KUNM too, right? I did the call-in show, I covered the legislature, I was a reporter, all that kind of stuff. And then they'll say, oh, this is Gwyneth from KUNM, and I've obviously got a TV crew behind me. I'm like, actually, it's KNME, right? We're using this for the television. This is gonna air on the television and it'll go up on our social media channel, right? But sometimes I need to say them, all right, and maybe I'm with Jeanette Dediot, who came out of our department, graduated 2 years ago. She's a reporter at KUNM. And we run around together sometimes, and I'll say, listen, she's from KUNM, and she's gonna interview you for broadcast, or she's gonna stick her microphone in here, and that's gonna go to KUNM. I'm interviewing you for the television, or I'm just writing something. Let them know what's gonna happen with the stuff you produce, right? And you need to be serious. Your word is all that you have for your job. So if you tell someone, I'm not gonna use this audio, I'm not gonna publish or upload this audio, and you do it, you're done. You lied. You broke someone's trust, and no one's ever gonna trust you again, and it's over. You need to pick something else like security, right? Highly regulated.
So if you might use the audio, let them know that.
So if you might use the audio, you can let them know, but really, that's a primarily audio situation. Can we go somewhere quiet? Because I'd love to interview you for KUNM or for my podcast, or I'd love to post this audio online. Do you mind if we step over here into this quieter place? Be clear, right? And then how much time this is gonna take. I tell people approximately 1/10 of the time that it's actually going to take, right? Mostly right now, that's because I work with television, and these guys, the like 5 guys standing behind me with various pieces of shit cannot move fast at all, ever. So I actually need 3 minutes of tape from you, but I'm gonna say this is gonna take like 2 minutes. Or I say like, I need 3 minutes, but really it's gonna take them 5 minutes to get it set up, then get the mics working and blah, 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 but it's okay, right? So, if you're just interviewing people and you're just, doing it for a print or online. Do you need to be more?
What?
Oh, I was just wondering.
Eventually, but
Yeah, okay. So, how much time this is gonna take? If you're just interviewing someone, hey, I just need to talk to you briefly, or if I'm gonna write a profile of you, do you have an hour where we could maybe get coffee? That's a totally different thing, right? But you have to be realistic. 3 minutes, 5 minutes is kind of the same, but you can't call someone on the phone and want to talk to them for an hour without an appointment, right? So be good about that. And then keep it as short as you can, right? Your time is valuable, but so is the other person's time, right? So how do you think you can keep your interviews short? How can you use your time the best? 190.
Well, of course, organizing beforehand.
Organizing it beforehand, two different things, writing your questions and organizing. Yes, who else has an idea? Any idea? Lily,
Knowing like your angle for the story.
you have to know your angle, right? You have to know exactly what you need. So, you know, you have like a categories of sources for stories, right? What are some of the categories of sources? Maybe you need an expert. You need an expert on the topic of human evolution, silicon chip manufacturing, gender policy, podcasting, whatever the hell the thing is. Maybe you need someone who's done this a long time, has a degree in it, teaches in it, has a business that does it, something like that. What's another category besides expert?
First-hand witness.
A witness, an eyewitness, sure, that's good. If you're doing a crime story or a protest story, you might need a witness, someone who saw what happened, right? What's another category?
Those who are impacted.
Yes, that's good. This is a huge category. People who are impacted by this thing. Tuition at UNM is going up 12% next year. Don't freak out. I just made that up, right? But if that were the case, you would want to interview a whole bunch of people who were impacted by it, right? Absolutely. People who are impacted by this thing. What's another category? Think about the stories you hear and read and watch. What about, you know, the pro and con? Someone who's a supporter or who is anti, you know? Someone who is pro-abortion rights, someone who is anti-abortion rights, someone who is pro-candidate A for student government, someone who is anti-candidate, or someone who is pro-candidate C, right? You want people who have strong feelings about a topic sometimes, right? Well, the reason that I think Joe Biden is the best candidate for the job is this. Well, I'm also a Democrat and I think that Joe Biden is the worst candidate for us on this. And well, you know, I'm an independent and I think Trump and Biden both suck. And I'm a, you know, I want to get a spectrum of ideas. So it's not always pro and anti, but you start there and then you see what else is kind of in the middle, right? And a lot of times you need an official or someone who has power or authority over this issue, to change this issue, to implement this issue. So if we're doing a story about tuition hike, who has the power to make the tuition hike happen? We've got to talk to that person or a representative of that group, right? So you want to talk to people like, oh, I hate it that my tuition's going up this much, I hate it. And then maybe you talk to someone, an official who says, I'm sorry, but we have to raise tuition because energy costs are killing us, right? We have to heat all these buildings and it costs a damn fortune. And then maybe you have an expert who says, you know, colleges and universities across the country have managed to lower their rate by installing solar panels. And I think UNM is perfectly suited to this kind of plan. And all of a sudden you're like, ooh, where am I going with this, right? Maybe your eyewitness in this case is someone who's like, well, I've been at this university 13 years trying to get my PhD from start to finish. And I'll tell you, my tuition is hiked every single damn year, right? So when you go in, I'm going back to where you guys were, right? When you are figuring out what you are doing in this interview, you need to figure out what kind of category are you filling in. So maybe you've talked to the officials. You went to the press conference at which they said the city of Albuquerque is going to allow tent camping in the box, right? And you're like, okay, great. Now I need to talk to some other people about the city's push to allow tent camping in the box. You've got your official, but now you need to find people who have different feelings about it. What's one way to figure out how people feel about it, you know, without running all over the place? Like, what's an efficient way to kind of get the vibe? Twitter? You can post it on Twitter. Now, who are you going to get on Twitter? Not a full spectrum of Albuquerque. right? But people who are on Twitter. And that's a segment, but it's a particular segment, right? But that's not that. Where else? What other techniques might you use? Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's a great idea, right? Get your ass down to the box key, right? Walk around, ask people down there. You see a lady walking her dog and she's got mace on her belt. You're like, ma'am, could I talk to you for a minute? I'm a reporter with the Daily Lobo, and I'm doing a story about tent camping in the Bosque, and I just wanted to talk to you for like 3 minutes about your feelings on that subject. Do you have a minute? And if she says this, then you're like, so how do you feel about this? Yeah, and then just keep talking to whoever comes walking down that trail, right? What's another way to do it? I mean, there you're getting people who are invested in the Bosque. Yes, that's good. You could just go to the mall, right? You could stand up front of the Apple store or North Face or whatever at Uptown Mall. You could stand in front of Target and talk to people, right? You can stand out here on Smith Mall, right? Just stand in the middle of campus, people heading to the sub at lunchtime, you could display a ton of interviews just standing out there, right? And they're maybe a little bit used to it, right? So then you may have to go, dig up some experts. But yes, ways to keep it short involve doing crap tons of research beforehand. I don't think, for those of you who are brand new, maybe you don't realize that the vast majority of effort that goes into publishing a story happens long before you write anything in that story, right? It's the reading that you do to get up to speed on this topic. It is the Google, and clicking, and you see something in one story, and then you Google that term, and then you don't know what that means. And so you Google that term. And then you're like, well, what's in the news? So you type, homeless, camping, Bosque, and then you click the news tab. And you're like, oh, KRQE covered this, KOB covered this. And now you're watching those videos of those stories to see what everybody else has already done. This is one of the biggest things that people fail to do, and it makes your editor's head explode. When you fail to research what your news organization has already done on this topic, right? You're like, well, I'd like to write a review of King Kong. And it's like, did you see the paper last night? It was in there, right? And I recently pitched something to my producers at KNME, and they were like, do you watch our show? And I was like, I was out of town. Shit, right? I got caught. I hadn't been watching the show for a few weeks, then I missed that they had done the thing I pitched, and I was so embarrassed. And then I'm like, Friday night at 7, get your butt on the sofa. We're watching the show. So I have to pay attention, right? But you also need to know what other media have covered. So research is the #1 tool, right? And then you need to, so when you're building your questions, you need to get your purpose in there as #1. What do I need out of this? Do I need an overview of this topic? So if you're gonna allow tent camping in the Bosque, Mr. Mayor, City Councilor, what does this mean? What are the rules? When does this go into effect? You have to figure out all the basics of that stuff, right? That's the purpose of that interview with that official. But now when I'm going down to the Bosque, what's my purpose there? Okay, my purpose is to get public opinion. Often the best thing you can do is find some data that's already been done. So did the Albuquerque Journal or some other organization do a survey that was published about people's feelings in Albuquerque on homelessness in the Bosque? Find that thing, because then you can advance your story significantly before you even talk to anyone down there and say, according to a KRQE poll from last year, 80% of Albuquerque residents say we should not allow tent camping in Albuquerque. Do you agree with that or not? You can put that in there, and then you can link to that in your story. And that's a richer kind of, we want content density, right? Content density is what you build when your stories are filled with links to other news and reports and data and other information that makes this a richer experience for your readers and viewers and listeners, right? So You've got to nail that purpose in your research. All right, now I've talked to them. I need these 4 other categories of people. And then when you're walking around and you run into someone and you might say, oh, heck, I'm just here shopping at the Gap. And here is Senator What's-Her-Face from downtown Albuquerque. How are you doing? Nice pants they have here, by the way. And all of a sudden I'm like, what do you think about this? Camping in the box, right? You've got to have this kind of stuff in your head. So when you're working on your story and a potential source pops in front of you, which category does this fit in, right? Okay, so then you are going to write questions, right? And I want to encourage you to just, when you're writing in general, just let yourself go, feel free, write stupid shit. Write stuff down that sucks, that's dumb, all right? Just because that means you're writing something down. Who has a problem with procrastination? Yours is not as bad as mine, all right? Yes, I'm horrible at it. But I got this advice years ago, and it was like, just start something. Open a Word doc, open a Google Doc, put your name at the top. Get coffee. I did something, right? Feel a little bit accomplished. And then I come back and I write, interview on Bosky tent camping. Yes, now I'm really cooking, right? And it gives me this feeling of momentum. Questions. Underline. I'm gonna make that bold. No, not bold, just underline. Bold. Ah, look at me. I'm really cooking now, right? So then just write, need to ask strangers stuff. Okay, that sucks. That's fun. But you wrote something down. Now you can make it better. Write something lame down, make it better. Write it down, make it better. Write it down, make it better. That's the entire process of doing this thing. If it's a photo caption or an 1,800 word story, that's the entire process, right? So write those questions down and then you need to organize them. All right, and here's one of the really important things, is you have to think of, how many of you were English majors again? There were a bunch. All right, right? So you guys know, there's like a story arc, right? And you need to write the interview questions as though you were following a story arc. Here we're just kind of setting the scene. We're introducing you to some characters. My name is Gwyneth, and you're Pam. That's great. And what do you do for a living? That's great. How old are you? Yeah, oh, you're a biology major, senior. That's great. Okay, good evening. Now, how do you feel about this pandemic? Right? You need to kind of swell into the real meat that you're looking for. And then you might follow up a little bit. Thank you so much, right? So we use this arc in several ways. This is the arc of your individual interactions. But if I'm doing an interview with, say, the governor, I interviewed Governor Michelle Lujan-Grisham in her office a few weeks ago. That aired on our show. And I thought a lot about the arc of my interview with her. I wanted to take people on a journey of getting to understand her and really developing her character here and revealing something about her and her goals and her methods and, being halfway through her second term before leaving people with something they can chew on as they go away, right? So there is the arc of each individual interview, which you need to get into and out of. And then there's the arc of the story as a whole, which is, this is not going to be the traditional visual for a lot of your stories, but some of your profiles for sure are going to take this kind of thing. Now, but this is the process of your work, so that when you are writing your story in this format, which is called non-journalism majors. Anyone? Yes. That's the inverted pyramid. You've been here a while. That's right. This is your inverted pyramid. This is where you go through all this process and you're like, most people hate camping in the bosque, right? You just shout out what the result is at the very top. And then you explain, well, it's this kind of people and that kind of people and this kind of people and also this, right? So this is how you're going to deliver the information, but this is how you're building it in your brain, right? So you need to get into the interview and out of it, right? And that means that you need to write a question. And then this is one of the things people do not do when they are starting out is you have to ask yourself, what do I think this person's gonna say in response? So do you think that I don't think through every single question that I put to the governor? And when I'm with my team, I say, okay, I can ask her that, but this is what she's gonna say. And I can imitate any politician, like nail it, like I'm standing up at a roast, right? So ask me a question you would ask the governor. What would you ask the governor? Anyone? You, skateboard. What would you ask the governor? You are a reporter, even if you were doing other stuff. Are you a photographer? That's a reporter. That's a photojournalist. Yes.
Months ago, Governor, I understand.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I support this research. You know, as an attorney, as someone who has worked in healthcare, as someone who has been in government for decades, there's nothing I care more about than the health and safety of all New Mexicans. And this is a huge problem, and it's been a priority for me and my administration. I want to do the best that we absolutely can here, and I've got something special coming up for that, so you just stay tuned. Was that a giant pile of bullshit?
Yeah, that needs a follow-up.
Oh, thank you, though. Moving on, right? So you need a follow-up question, because I just delivered you a steaming plate of shit.
So I would just need to know what are some of those things that are
Yeah, see, that's good. You're in the zone, right? What exactly are you going to do? Or can you just tell me one specific thing that you're gonna do, right? So you have to know, well, she's gonna bullshit me because she's been a politician for 30 years and she didn't get to be governor by saying, oh, I really fucked that up. I don't know what to tell you. But she did a little bit to me on television. But no, that's not how they work. So you need to anticipate that a lot of these people are gonna BS you. These people have PhDs in BS, all right? So they are gonna try to evade you. So you have to be prepared. And what I do is I write question number 1, Governor, what about the missing and murdered Indigenous Women Task Force, right? And then she's gonna say, right? And so then I'm gonna say, well, what are you doing now to find the people who are doing this? Give me one specific step that you are going to take in order to solve this problem, right? And then if she says, I've taken many steps, who is this girl? Get her on the list from white person, right? Right? I've taken many steps, and in fact, I'm organizing a study and I'm organizing a new but different research into the topic. Okay, and now, so you need to have kind of thought through that question. So what's your follow-up to that?
Who are some of the experts you're for that?
I like it a lot, right? That kind of preparation is what makes your interview successful and different from somebody who goes in and is like, I don't know, she said a lot of stuff about how important it was to her and for track record, none of which is useful in your story, right? So being prepared enough, reading, like, if it's someone I don't know who's fairly high level, I go and watch other interviews with them. I do all of our shows, interviews, almost all of them, when people are running for Congress or government, right? And these people are generally good. They are generally PhDs in BS, right? So I go and watch other interviews they did. Oh, they were talking to the Kiwanis in Carlsbad and there's video of it. And, right? Let's go watch that and see how good they are. And then I often try and find ways to kind of disrupt them to get them to say something nice and human. But this is about research and preparing those follow-up questions. So if you're talking to a random lady walking her dog about 10 camming in the Bosque, you just need a list of 10 questions. And then you can kind of like, make sure you do these things, shop through your questions. And in that case, you kind of want to ask similar questions to the same 6 people you interview down there, so that you can say most of the people we talked to said this, or half of the people, said that, right? But for higher level interviews, you're interviewing Garnett Stokes, or you're interviewing the athletic director, or something that's bigger than that. Say not Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury comes for a visit, you're gonna interview her. You need to get a lot of follow-up questions, right? You need your follow, FOLO, your follow question. And I just put them in bullets underneath. And often, if you look at, say, a national television reporter interviewing President Trump, a real reporter on a real network interviewing President Trump, they will have a 3-ring binder in front of them. And the 3-ring binder has facts and figures and data, so that when they say, President Trump, the economy, gross GDP, gross domestic product tanked 23% during your administration, what's he gonna say? In response to that?
That's not true.
Yes, guaranteed that's what he's gonna say. No matter what, he's gonna say, that is not true. And then you're gonna be like, boop, according to the Department of Labor, according to the, Congressional Budget Office, according to the, whatever, it was 23.234.5%, but what I wanted to ask you was, right? So if you're dealing with someone tricky, you need to build your background into that, so in case they push back, you've got that there. So sometimes in the bullet points under a question, I'll have in italics so that I know it's different. I'll have 23% GDP drop 2019 to 2020, some of those little points back there, so that if they're like, well, what are you talking about? I can say, oh, these 3 things. And I can't keep that in my head at all, right? No chance. I'm not that smart. So I have to write it down. So sometimes I lard my interview documents with follow-up questions always, and with little helpful data points or quotes. Well, Senator, in 2019, you said that the US Senate was the most, I'm quoting, dysfunctional organization on the face of the planet. You called them stupid idiots, and said that you would never, in a million years, join them. And you announced your candidacy today. So I just wanted to ask you, why did you change your mind? Right? Something like that. You put that stuff out there in front of them, and what do you think that does? It puts them on notice. I am not an idiot. I came prepared. You're gonna have to answer my questions. This is serious. You better bring your A game, right? Now, this is not so necessary for Tina. How do you feel about raising tuition, right? But it is necessary for Garnett, Stokes, or the provost, or whoever it is that's announcing those. Should we pause for questions? How are we doing on time?
We're at, we're quarter out,
All right.
about 10 minutes.
Let me see if I have any more. Oh yeah, I want to do a couple things with you. We have a class, an interviewing class that I urge you guys to take. I'm gonna put this over here. I cannot remember the number of this class right now. But I want to talk about open and closed questions. Does anybody know what an open or closed question is? You are a rock star already. Someone else? Anyone else know what an open or closed question is? You, yes.
An open question would be like, it's basically open-ended, but a closed question is you have like a list of options.
Does anybody know the answer to this question? Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that? Those are open questions. Did you have sex with that woman? Is what the investigators asked President Clinton. And did he answer yes or no? No, he did not. Did not, but they tried, right? That's what they were trying to do. When you're on the witness stand, you get a lot of yes or no questions. And you don't get a lot of, and how did that make you feel? Right? Until you get to the real murder part. But before that, it's like, and did you take that money? And did you take that money to the bank? Did you pick up the gun? Did you put the gun in the woman's face? Did you demand the money? Yes or no question. That's what we're trying to get on the record. You want to use a combination of open and closed questions. Hi, do you walk your dog in the bosque here often? That's a yes or a no. And if you're like, no, I'm a tourist, never been here before. Oh, thank God. Don't really need to talk to a tourist for this story. Thank you for that. That's why you get people asking, are you registered to vote in Bernalillo County? When you come out of Smith's, right? And it's because they want you to sign a petition for a candidate who wants to get on the ballot. And if you're not registered to vote in Bernalillo County, they do not want to talk to you. Are you a registered Democrat? If so, please sign this thing that only registered Democrats can sign. Now, does anybody have any experience, maybe that's you, with how you use open versus closed questions?
I personally not bother with those questions. Like anytime I just talk to my brother, just like try to always keep it open because like I don't know, like, I never wanna assume, cause like, what, if, like, they say something, right, and like, it's different than what, like, I would have thought their answer would have been, I guess, if that makes sense.
That's pretty good.
And then just overall, like, when I feel like the conversation is more on them, if it's an open question, so I can just be like, oh, like, okay, cool, here's one half of the question that would be like, did you walk your dog, right? And then the open can be like, how was walking your dog, how did that fit for you? And then once I get to that, I can get like my next set of questions.
And you're the culture editor. And when you're doing profiles and nice, stories about artists and things like that, sometimes you do more open questions. But news requires a lot of closed questions. Governor, will you reopen a missing and murdered Indigenous women task force this year? Yes or no? You need to put her on the record, put her on the spot, get her to commit right now that she will do this thing or won't do this thing. Sir, if you are elected to the US Senate, would you vote to impeach President Biden? Yes or no? This is like really important for voters to hear if they want to, ma'am, if you are elected to the US Senate, will you vote to legalize abortion nationwide? People want to know the answer to this question. Candidate B, do you believe that a fertilized embryo is a human life? Is that a child? Yes or no? Answer me. I heard Nikki Haley get this question on NPR recently, and you know what she said? Giant pile of steaming crap, right? She was like, well, nothing. I was like, well, she was like, and to me, like an embryo, like that's a baby. To me, just like to me, I feel like it's baby to me, but I'm a baby. And I was like, where is she going with this? She obviously like went off script. But people need to hear the answer to open and closed questions. Are you graduating this year? Right? Did you go to art school before doing this thing? So don't be afraid of closed questions. They don't have to be, is an embryo alive? And sometimes that's what you're shouting at the candidate because there's a lot at stake. And sometimes it's just like, well, when you create, are you seeing pictures in your mind or are you just letting it flow? So use a combination of these. What you want to avoid are double barrel questions. This is a very common thing, right? What's a double barrel question and who sucks at it? Oh, did I confuse you because I actually asked you 2 questions right there in a row?
And who sucks at it?
Right? So don't ask 2 questions at a time, right? Just let them answer one and then get to the other one. You want to see what they answer first before they get to the second one. What's a time when you might do a double-barreled question? You're in the White House briefing room. The president has come out for 5 minutes. You're with NBC News. They call on you. You have 10 seconds. Ask both of your questions. Just shout out both of your questions. I want to know, are we dropping more aid to Gaza and is an embryo alive? But thanks, Dina Jones from NBC. Don't do it like that. But you're gonna, are we dropping more aid to Gaza and when is it coming? Thank you. And then you sit down because you're not having a conversation. You're shouting out one question at a press conference, right? Generally, avoid this. Give people a chance to answer. All right, we have about 10 minutes left, 7 minutes left, and now you're gonna interview me about questions you have about interviewing. Yes. I'm gonna take 7 questions right now, and I'm not gonna stop until I have 7 questions. Yeah.
So when this hasn't happened yet, but when you do have like an interview or something, right, and they're constantly like not shooting you down, but they're like repivoting the way you're going to where you can't even like answer whatever, or you can't even answer the question. How do you go about doing that, and how do you not like freak out if I didn't get it?
Well, why are they avoiding me? Because they're a candidate of like a high level political candidate, or because they don't want to talk about the time when they were a drug addict and made their best art, or what?
I didn't get that. I guess more so on like detective.
All right, so your organization is going to be good. And also, I'm a big fan of the carrot and the stick, right? The carrot is you ask someone about something they really want to talk about. And often I do this. Oh, I had 2 things I wanted to tell you for sure. This is one of them. Ask people about something you know they want to talk about. Take the picture they want to take. Oh, you want to take a picture of me? Okay, okay, hold on. Is that right? That's my cute face that I make for pictures. Do you want my cute face in your picture in the paper? No, you don't. So you're like, okay, that's great. I love it. Great. Thank you. Now can I get one of you with the board? Yeah, okay, I guess I can do that. Or whatever, right? But take the picture they want taken. Ask the question about the thing. You recently announced a priority project this year about kitten rescue, Senator. How's your kitten rescue going? I give zero shits about kitten rescue. This is not important. This has no news value. This is not going to be in my story. I'm making her like me now, right? I got this amazing coming kitten. You're kidding. It's can't get it up. Anyway, about embryos in human life. Slightly more subtle than that, right? Also, I want to give you another trick. Ask nice questions, number one. Nice questions is a tool. Nice, cute questions, nice pictures, it's all a tool, right? And sometimes that ends up as a little Instagram thing that you can use for something else. Oh, hey, by the way, it's Rescue Day at Petco, and here is Senator Maria Baca talking about how important kitten rescue is. Great, here's a little piece of content for you. It's not going in your major story, but you can put it out on social. That's fine. That's great. It works, right? Ask nice questions. Also, ask throwaway questions. So how many of you use Otter AI to record your interviews? Okay, I want to see that number at 100 when I come here next time, right? Otter AI is really good. If you use it all the time, it is very good at transcribing your stuff. I use it, I never look at it because I don't need to. Because as you build your skill, you will be able to write down in your notebook, in your weird little unintelligible shorthand, the answers that you actually need. And if I talk to someone for half an hour, I may use 2 direct quotes, and I can almost always get those written down into my thing. And what helps me write down the entire answer that I actually want to use while that person is talking? A throwaway question. Use this as one of the tools in your toolbox. Tell me more about that. Just keep talking, right? While I write this down. You're kidding. And didn't you also have a kitten rescue? Yeah, well, I want to hear about the kitten rescue. No, I don't. Not at all. But I'm looking at you, and I'm also writing. Yeah. You're kidding. How many kittens? That's incredible. Thank God. I just finished writing down that quote. Next question, anyways, about nuclear weapons, right? So feel free to use a throwaway question when you need time, either to finish writing something down or to think of what your next question is. So it might be like, tell me about this piece here, this sculpture. When did you make this? And I don't really care because I'm here for the prints, but I'm asking about the sculpture just to distract her for a minute while I'm like, did I have anything about sculpture in here? Oh, I did. So you studied sculpture at RISD using beer cans. Were those from your dorm room? Right? That's incredible. You know, so think about using some of those throwaway questions. Now, next question for me. Yeah.
How did you plan the lesson that you were going to give us today, and what was your thought process behind deciding what to do?
Well, how did I plan this? I've taught the interviewing class maybe 5 times. I teach interviewing in every class that I teach. So I've just got this stuff rolling around up here. What I did was I looked through a huge PowerPoint presentation that I have, but did not give you because of technical reasons. And I looked through a chapter in a book that I don't use, but that is good at this. And I pulled out the things that were not super basic, but slightly second level to push a diverse group at different levels so that I could hopefully find something a little bit new for everyone and reinforce some of it. Next question, that's 2. Yes.
I was gonna ask you, is there any specific body tactics that's used?
Yeah, and let me recommend interpersonal communication. I think it's a general ed credit in our department. It's a fun class. It's a cool class. It's really interesting. I've taught that too. I'll tell you really quickly some very important interpersonal cues. When you are interviewing someone for print or online, not for video or radio, you need to smile. And you do this. Why? You do this so that people think it's awesome to be interviewed by you and super fun, right? Also, you need to like be non-threatening and totally engaging. Am I right? So I'm leaning on the edge of my chair and I'm super into it and I'm making super eye contact with you and I'm so excited. And when you're talking, see, you're smiling at me. You don't want to, but you are.
Yeah.
It works, right? And so I'm also nodding at you while you're talking. Keep going. Yes. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I get it. I love it. Yes. Fascinating. You're kidding. I had no idea. Amazing. That's great. When you go to television, no head bobbing, no idiot, like, yeah, you look like a moron on TV. So you have to pretend to be a statue and go like this. And I do a lot of these second level shoots now where it's just a reaction shot for me and my person is standing there and I'm like, we have to shoot just 10 seconds of this. I'm listening to you and I tell them you can literally say anything and I'm going to give you this face. And sometimes then they make me laugh or they say dirty things in the script. When you're doing audio, do this, but shut up. Shut up. You ask your question and you shut up. Because when you go in to splice those audio pieces into your story, you can't have you being, oh my God, that's amazing. I love it. 30 kittens. No way. Love it. Okay. Yeah. Look. None of that. It ruins all of your audio. So you have to be really conscious of what medium your interview is for, so you get that crap out of there, right? And still motivate the people you're talking to, right? It works. That's great. Next question. Yeah.
What do you do when people get like defensive? Asking a question.
My screen test at KNME was they brought in the biggest asshole on the panel and tried to antagonize me. And I was like, for this mom, right? My mom's a lawyer. I come from a big family of shouters and like really opinionated people. And so I'm like a pit bull. I'm like, oh, you want to fight? Yeah, it's fun, it's awesome, right? So you have to control that because that is not good. Actually, that's bad. But that willingness to push back is good. You just have to tame it and bring it down and control it. And you're working on your faith. I feel like I'm getting from you that this is a really personal issue. If they get really mad, you say, sometimes I've had to say to people, this is not the place where you yell at me. I'm here to interview you and get questions for the people. You do have to answer my questions because you're sitting in our editorial board meeting and we are here on behalf of the entire electorate. So I just want you to answer the question, is an embryo of life? And then it's really testy and they storm out with no support, right? I think it's important to get to why they're upset. And you can always ask these why and how questions. These are great, right? Why did you make this piece of art? Why did you vote this way? Why did you decide to run? Why do you think that was the right thing to do? Why? And why can be a kind of a throwaway question. And why did you decide to do that? Why do you think that happened? This is an open question, a variety of open questions, right? That tries to elicit the kinds of things that are great for quotes, because you remember what we want for our news stories are direct quotes, a very small number of them, and these express emotion, opinion, magnitude. You never want to have a direct quote that says, well, we raised the budget by 32% this year. Who cares? That doesn't need to be a direct quote. This is the biggest budget increase of my lifetime and I will not tolerate it. Now that's good. That's a direct quote. So often how and why questions lead to these kinds of choosy answers that really express the opinion of the other person. All right, and 4 minutes over. Last 2 questions. Yes. So let me answer your question this way. Practice, 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 practice. If you're gonna interview someone, there's gotta be someone in your life who loves you. It's your mom, it's your sister, it's your partner, it's whoever that you can say, just like, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of really weird questions. So you've been a football player 4 years now, right? Whatever it is, and you're like, yeah, fine. But you're just practicing. The more you practice your interviews before you do them, the more interviews you do, the more video interviews you do, the more you have the muscle memory. Who knows how to skateboard? Some of these people. Who skis? Or snowboards? Yes, or plays a sport of any other flavor. Yeah, what? Golf, tennis, any of these things, they all require you to build a specific skill. I'm gonna go 1, 2, hit. I'm gonna put my tushy behind me and wiggle it a little bit, and then I'm gonna make my elbow weird like this. You have to build that muscle memory that allows you to sway and move and bend your knees and carve and whatever, right? You're doing that for your interviewing too. And it's just doing it over and over and over. You guys didn't snowboard the first day you got off, right? You sucked, you fell, you hurt yourselves, you cried, there was misery. And it was like that for 3 days, right? And then you started to get better and you started to get better. And how did you get halfway decent at it? Just going and going and going. Just hitting balls at the putting green, shooting, what's that called? Putting green, thank you, that's what it's called. At the putting green, just gonna hit balls, just gonna hit a bucket of balls, practice makes point. So the answer is practice. And then, like, I could interview anyone on TV right now for anything. And in fact, one of the pictures in my PowerPoint presentation is of my reporter's notebook at the state capitol, and it's this. And this was all the preparation that I had for going into an interview with a state senator. I was like, my producer was like, we can get Senator so-and-so. And I was like, great, okay, shit, all right, what am I gonna ask about? He's like, what do you know? And I'm like, all right, what is this guy got some legislation for the Republicans? He's like, okay, gun, sweet abortion, we're good to go. And these are my notes going into the on-camera interview. Senator Jones, we've seen numerous public safety pieces of legislation aiming to restrict guns in New Mexico. You know, do you think that this is an unfair restriction on the public's right to bear arms? And I just made that up based on all the other preparation and research that I had done, right? I also want to ask you, you know, in your day job, you work at a local cannabis company, and up here you've been a strong supporter of cannabis legislation. Why do you think an update of our original recreational cannabis law is necessary right now? Do you think, Senator, that this abortion bill has the votes to pass? Right? Whatever it is. So the more preparation and practice and research you put into it, this is like an iceberg. The amount of effort that you put into anything that you do, it is so much more than the public ever sees. So I want to encourage you to wrap your brain around the idea that every story you do, the actual time you're sitting there typing it up, for the vast majority of stories, it's going to be like 1/5 of the time at most that you spend on that story as a whole. Because the rest of it is unseen, it's research, it's prep, it's legwork, it's all that other stuff. Any last questions? Totally over time. Thank you, guys. I want to leave you with a couple thoughts here. Please do go take interviewing if that's something you want to get better at. There are a lot of different people in that interviewing class because who uses interviewing for work? Cops, nurses, doctors, lawyers, all day, every day, right? So there are people from all across campus who take that. Interpersonal communication is easy. You will get an A. It's fun. It's an easy class. It's great. I also want to encourage those of you who are not journalism majors to take my class, Intro to Media Writing, in the fall. I will be teaching this in person. This is a great class that I think is cool. Ladies. Lily? Yeah. Is it worth it?
Yes.
Is this helpful for logo writers?
Yes.
Did you learn a bunch of stuff? Is that how you got your start?
Yes.
All right. My closed question. What do you think? Did you take it with me?
Yeah, I didn't hear.
You didn't. Did you take 1140 with me?
I took it online.
And how did that compare?
I
Yeah, not that good. But this is great. And then I also want to make this offer to all of you now. 2135 is media ethics and law. This has prerequisites. But if you are working at the Daily Lobo and you are too far ahead in your sequence that you don't have time to take the prereqs, I will override you into media ethics and law. How valuable is this?
That one's like my favorite class.
Yeah.
It sounds lame, but was it cool?
Yeah.
No, did you take it with me in person?
No, I took it all.
Took it online. But you guys were in it last.
I took it in my fall.
This year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. All right. It's super valuable. I teach you how not to get arrested and not to get sued. And those are the two most important things, right? And also, it gives you a great foundation in ethical decision making, I think. Am I right? Have you used what you learned in that class in the real world? Lauren had. That's awesome. All right. I will override you into this class. When registration opens, you can email me, Gwyneth D. I'm the most emailable, findable person in the world, because no one else has my name, unm.edu. Message me and I will override you into that class in the fall. All right. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you because I am so glad that you're here and I'm so happy you're writing for the Lobo. I'm taking pictures for the Lobo, editing for the Lobo, doing what it is you do to contribute. And bring your friends along, bring them along from political science, especially with political science. Yeah, bring them along from political science, especially. They're totally in the headspace for this. And give your friends in English something real to write about and change the world. So
I think it's a big deal that when it took time from the middle of her Sunday.
I
to
put
be
pants
with-
on for
to
you guys.
be with us today, and so, thank you.
Thank you.